I was under the false assumption that Micro Four Thirds had a place in our dying world, but I was misfortunate to understand the reality that hit us in the face when I compared this monkey bitch to this donkey whore. It was not a thrashing you want to witness, but I did film it. Let's talk about it.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So let me just start by protecting your fragile immunity. And when I insult your Micro Four Thirds camera and you shoot with it and you're like, oh, he insulted, I hate you. Micro Four Thirds is the best. Look, I don't know what happened here. I took these out before with the G Master 100 to 400. Same setup, but I was using 240 frames per second. And Micro Four Thirds held its own. If anything, it looked better in some shots because this was slightly longer reach, so I got more detail on the woodpeckers, and I was like, oh right, you know, this is so much lighter, it barely looked different. However, things have changed. I now have the 200 to 600 on loan from Sony, thank you so much. And I was shooting 4K 120p versus HD 120p, it's max. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, what is this? If you have children in the room with you, I'm gonna ask you to have them sit this one out, because this is disgusting footage from the Olympus. I am disgusted. What the hell is that on the left? Where are you going? Ah, you piece of shit. Now keep in mind, this is super expensive, super heavy, versus very cheap. This is the budget lens of the telephoto world. It weighs like less than a foot. But the results, like, it doesn't matter. You're out there, you're saving weight, and then you get this back, and you're like, what happened? What's the point of even keeping these files? That's what I was thinking. I did actually manage to somewhat catch this moment on film. The Kingfisher goes, I'm like, are you serious? Dropping down, I can do this. Sure, you'll be in focus, don't worry about that. Boom, splash. It's the worst footage we've ever seen, but I somewhat got it. I was in manual focus, and then I'm like, okay, pull it, you can get him. And boom. With that focus throw, like, it's so sensitive, but you can go really far. And look at this, he caught a fish. He caught one. Look how mean he is. Watch, he's gonna smack it. He gets it in position to get the head, and then watch this. It's coming. Oh, bam. Sorry about that. Were you alive? And not anymore. You were wiggling. And he swallows it. What a dick. Ah, nature's finest moment. Down the hatch. You know what I mean? Oh yes, a meal. Now here's a cardinal on both. He flipped around. I couldn't believe him. I was like, oh man, I had the perfect shot lined up. There, it looks somewhat comparable. It's like, because it was so far away, it was decent. It was like, okay, Micro Four Thirds, you got the tonne there. Like, having more tonne in that situation was unnecessary. So, well done, Micro Four Thirds. But there's a certain cheapness to the image, like this red-winged blackbird just puffing up, singing his heart out, walking around. Everything's kind of like in focus, over sharpened, kind of highlights blown, low dynamic range look. And then you look at the Sony footage and it's like, oh, magical. Oh, there's the magic. You're separating the bird from the background. The colors are just popping. Something's better about it. You just know, you can see it. You can see the cost and the weight, the value. You know what sucks? I compared this to the Fuji, same as this, HD 120p versus 4K 120p, and the Fuji held its own. Like, it had the same dynamic range, the better colors, like it was better in some ways, and mostly like comparable. Whereas when I did this comparison with the Micro Four Thirds, I was like, wow, that was bad. And I sold my Fuji 70 to 300 because I thought I had this as a lightweight option if I needed that. I realize now I don't have that anymore. It's dead in my heart. There's nothing here. Here's a good example of having zero dynamic range. On your left, Olympus, turtle shell blown out, but more stable. More stable, but just like ugly footage. Versus the Sony waving around there because I don't know how to hold a camera. For those who remember, I got that black cormorant in flight and I was tracking it in manual focus. I was like, okay, I'm up for that challenge again. He spreads his wings. He's like, I'm drying them off and I'm about to take flight. You ready for this, buddy? I'm like, I sure am. I'm right here for you. Okay, let's go. Oh God, which way is the focus? Oh man, I'm not getting any of this. Oh, start again. Start over. Duck. Go back, King Duck. I got him. No, I didn't. That was the worst performance I've ever seen. And then I nailed it. No, he's out. He's out. Oh, that's a bitch. I found myself, whenever I saw something, I grabbed the Sony because I was like, I want it to look nice. I've seen what I can see it in the viewfinder. Just seeing through the Olympus, it's like, this looks gross. I hope it looks better when I get it back. It doesn't. It looks worse. Here's red-winged blackbird, side by side, same shot. It's just the digital look of the Olympus. Disgusting sharpness, over-sharpened, and you can't unsharpen it. You probably could, but it wouldn't be right. Singing, but the one on the left is singing songs of death and horror, which brings destruction. Here's a little baby turtle. A cute little tiny baby turtle sitting there. Sony has separated him from the background. Olympus has chosen to blow out the highlights of whatever log he's sitting on. He doesn't care for baby turtles. So for those who are saying like, oh, full frame, it's bullshit, it's Micro Four Thirds is just as good, it's so much lighter too and cheaper. It's like, no, you can choose to have the cinema in your life or go to the dollar store and buy whatever DVDs from Bollywood are on the rack and get yourself an Olympus camera, and you'll get that type of footage to impress your half-blind grandmother who won't even cook you a cookie-based cake in reward of this presentation to her. She knows you're a failure. She can see it. Even her blind ass won't reward you for this. Not with cookies. Now for those who are thinking the OM1 would have trashed the A7S III, it would have had 4K 60, so it would have looked better. It would have had 10-bit, but I'm thinking dynamic range would have been very similar. Not a lot has changed, and if I went into 120p, which is what I want, still HD, still single autofocus, it doesn't look much better than this, and the 240 frames will look worse, guaranteed. I don't know, man, like the GH6, I think that would be a comparison. 4K 120p both, get your Leica lens. You might even have some moments where the GH6 is like, wow, that actually looks better, I think. I doubt it. But like comparable, it might be just below the Fuji level of acceptance. Whereas this is going straight in the recycling bin. As the red-winged blackbird searches through the swamplands for mosquitoes to bring home for his family to rate and judge, he realizes that there were none. There were none. So we switch over to the Olympus to get the same exact shot, and he's gonna stay there to set up the side-by-side. You're a piece of shit, you blackbird ass. Thankfully, he flew up into the tree and stayed there for a good long time. Over-sharpened, highlight blown-out footage reminds me of my time in Antarctica, where I was snowblind. What a bird. I'm not hating this shot. It's kind of nice, but if I got this same one with the Sony, it would have looked much better, but he flew off. Now you can say it's because of this cheap-ass lens. It's basically a kit lens. Disgusting, like the quality of it, it's so plasticky and cheap. If you would have went with the 300mm Tony 4 prime lens, pro lens, you might have had something, but I don't know, I'm never impressed when I see that combo from people. I'm sorry, I don't know what you're filming in, probably like standard profile, you don't grade it, you just throw it out there. If you had like some effort put into it, you're filming in log, you put a LUT on there of some sort, you might have had something, but you didn't, and you haven't impressed me. And that 300mm prime has a manual focus clutch that's too sensitive, but Now that I've seen this one that's too sensitive as well, and I love it, maybe, but I can't see myself spending that kind of money into Olympus. Oh, you're filming me. So this is where Olympus shines, the skin tones. I don't need detail on my face. I need it in the birds, and it's gone. I saw this duck coming in for landing. I was like, oh my God, hold on, wait. And I'm manually focusing. I'm like, okay, we're doing it. I at least got the landing somewhat, but it was cinematic, being out of focus. I planned that. Olympus, you disgust me. The disgusting background blown out highlights, and the feathers, just moire and angry feathers. The colors are disgusting too. Did you just poo? How dare you, Sony? Do you poo on the Olympus footage? That's rude. So is full frame worth the wait and the cost? It's like, it depends. It depends what you're going for. Do you want to be inspired by your footage when you get home and see like, wow, I can't believe that I made a movie of some sort? Or do you want to have like camcorder footage that's beaten by most bridge cams? Then go with the Olympus. You save money, weight, and nobody's gonna know the difference except your audience. Here we have the common grackle, nothing common about them. They're purpley and they puff up to say thank you for filming me. They often do that. Sony's looked so dramatic. I almost want to make an intro out of this. Look at this Sony foot. He looks at me, puffs up like a demon. That scared the shit out of me. That's, wow. I'm afraid. I find it so funny when turtles sunbathe, they stick their legs out, like flat out. I don't know why they do it. To dry out, maybe? Or they're just stretching. They do yoga. And that apparently underneath is a snapping turtle, a giant freak. That thing will bite your arm off. So it was a sad day for Micro Four Thirds, my friend. I don't know what your place is in this world, but it's not one in a museum where people would pay money to see you. It's just more of like, look, bird identification. You could print a magazine with this stuff. I'd glance at it in a newspaper stand. I wouldn't buy it, I'd put it back. So I learned a lot in that one outing. Basically, Olympus is dead unless filming a human face, then like leading the industry for portability and vlogability. Never again will I take you outside. Panasonic GH6, you're also probably dead. Fuji X-H2, what will that bring? And then, do I really upgrade to something like this? All depends on how comfortable this is in the field today. Or will Nikon 200 to 600 blow us all away? Better stabe. Animal eye detect in 4K 120p? Manual focus override? Should we? Oh boy. Fuji X-H2 with the 150 to 600? Could that bring something? Animal eye detect. Video centric. There's possibilities ahead. Not if you're a Micro Four Thirds loser owner. But you already knew that going into this, that you made a bad decision. And you're old. And you're blind. And you don't care. You're old, so it's light. That's good. And you lost your sight years ago. So you can't even see what you're filming anyway. It's like, well, whatever then. That's why old people get the little tiny point and shoots. The Lumix. Fucking zooming on their necklace. I'm gonna leave. After you buy a Camera Conspiracies t-shirt and all this stuff through the affiliate link, especially the Micro Four Thirds gear, you buy it. It's good enough for you. Not for me. But for you, it's good. Thank you for subscribing. It's a blue light.